Hey everyone, it's Husey back here again to do the Jason Todd slash Red Hood costume tier list over the years. So I wanted to follow up with that from my Nightwing costume tier list, and because I think Red Hood has a whole bunch of awesome costumes as well as some pretty bad ones. So I've gathered 53 suits, all the suits I could find on adult Jason Todd. Basically, not him as Robin in any of these, but him taking on different mantles and different appearances and some Elseworld stuff. So that being said, feel free to use the 1.5 or 2 times feature to get through this video faster. But I'm going to have all the links to jump around versus animation to comics to video games down in the description below, so feel free to check that out. And thanks for watching. But to start off with, we're gonna go to Jason Todd from Young Justice. So this is alluded to be Jason Todd. It's never outright stated from what I've seen, but he appears in season 3 after they got renewed in 2019. But I think this suit is pretty cool. I like it. Nothing really stands out to me that much to it. And I think it's cool that he's with the League of Assassins, and you got little baby Damien there too, which is kind of neat. But overall, it's not very impressive to me. I think it's like serviceable, but in the grand scheme of things, I think this outfit is just mid. Could have been better. And compared to these other suits that we got on here, I think it just goes into the mid category. So the second suit we're gonna rank here is the first Red Hood design from Batman Ninja in 2018. This one is, I think, pretty hilarious in some ways. It's just like a big straw hat covering his whole face, but that helmet or hat design is just very confusing and weird to me. So for this one, I like understand that they're going for, the ninja vibe, but to me it just doesn't work that well and they could have done something different. I like the mask here, but they should have had like a different helmet design for him, in my opinion. So for that, I'm just gonna put this one in the bad tier right now. It's not what I want to see from Red Hood design. So then they did some redesigns. So in 2025, they released this Batman Yakuza League movie, and this is his first design, I believe, from that movie. And it's pretty serviceable. It's kind of what we expect from Red Hood to look like right now. The helmet and the jacket with the symbol on his chest is pretty standard for today's standards. But to me, it's not very exciting. And I think there's a lot of different costumes in the comics that do this a lot better. And the helmet design is a little weird looking on his face there. So for this one, I'm going to put it right next to the Young Justice one, just because I think it's pretty mid in comparison to the other outfits. Now, lastly, we have the second design from the Yakuza League movie, which I think is a lot worse in my opinion. This kind of, takes inspiration from the outlaw look we'll get into later, but I think this one is like a way worse version of that and way too busy in my opinion. I could see how someone might like it, but I think they're just doing too much. And in comparison to his other suits, I think this one is honestly pretty trash. So that's where it belongs, in my opinion. I'm gonna put it there. I'm not biggest fan of Red Hood using like an actual hoodie, so that's gonna dictate my opinion on some of these outfits going forward. But let's move on to the next one. All right, this is Red Hood from Lego Batman Family Matters. In 2019, they released this animated movie, and it's basically just a design that we've seen from him in like Lego form. He was also in the Lego DC Supervillains video game. He looked like this, but this one we get to see him without his mask on, which I think looks all right. Looks pretty good, in my opinion. But I think there is a better Lego design. So for right now, I'm going to put this one in the good tier. I think this is our first good design for him in animation. Okay, next is the best costume I've ever seen Red Hood in. Jason Todd. This is what I was introduced to as a small youngin growing up watching Under the Red Hood. This was absolute peak. I think this is such a great design for Jason Todd. And one thing you'll learn about me is that Honestly, I prefer Jason as an antagonist to Batman or Nightwing. Just the Bat family, I think it's more interesting that he's the one that, kind of got failed and he wasn't able to reform after his death. And I like his approach of being, kind of the Punisher of the DC universe. But of course, since, Batman is over him, he doesn't really get to eliminate threats permanently. I also really enjoyed this whole confrontation scene here, but also the suit without the jacket, just the gray undershirt with the mask, I think is a pretty cool and solid look for him. This one, I think, is great. It has the leather jacket, the gray undershirt, boots, and gloves with tactical alongside like his pants are just, normal standard jeans there. And the only thing that's red on his costume is the helmet, which I think the helmet is so great and inspired a whole bunch of different designs that are now seen within the comics just from this one movie adaptation. For that, I think this is the perfect design. And I know the Under the Hood storyline has a different outfit for him, but I think, it takes inspiration and improves upon in this iteration. So I'm going to put this one in the best of all time. I know there was some building up to in the last video, but for going through animated projects, I think the animated people that designed this did way better than any other of the comic designs. Or not way better, but they did a significant job making it their own and making a great costume. But after that movie, we got this one that came out 10 years later. It was A Death in the Family, and it had some like different alternative endings where Jason became either Hush or Red Robin, which I thought was really weird. And I don't know why they made it that way. And if you watch the movie yourself, like you get to pick different decisions for him, but they use a lot of stills. Anyways, we're just ranking the suits here, but this one, it's just literally the Hush suit, but Jason Todd is wearing it. I'm not a big fan of him, being someone else, so I'm gonna put this one in the bad tier just because Jason is the Red Hood to me, and he's not supposed to be Hush. I don't think it's a good adaptation for what they do with his storyline being as Hush. Yeah, so moving on. So the other design that they had alternative ending for Jason was him becoming Red Robin in this universe, which it's not the first time, which we'll get to later. But again, I don't think this is the right role for him. He should be Red Hood, and his design is just way cooler. And I like this Red Robin design, but like I said with the Nightwing video, I just don't think it belongs for Jason Todd. So I'm gonna put this one right next to the other in bad. I do think the Red Robin design is better overall than the Hush design. Also, I'm going to move this one to the bottom of bad. I think it's just a worse than these other two. All right, so that concludes the animation portion of Red Hood. Now we're getting into the comics version. So this one appeared in 2009 in the Batman and Robin run by Grant Morrison, where Dick Grayson was Batman and Damian Wayne was Robin. And this design was illustrated by Jonathan Glapion and Philip Tan. And honestly, I think this one is pretty decent. Again, it's like obviously taking inspiration from the Joker's first appearance as the Red Hood. That dome on the top of his head is obviously the same as what the Joker wore before he got turned into the Joker. And I think that's cool to go back to the roots there. But I think the white on the suit is a little too much. There's not as much separation. I do really enjoy the red guns, but I think there is a better version that comes down the line that we'll get to in just a second. For this one, I just think a lot of people hate this one, and I can see why, but there's just something that I like about that dome, and this is like his first time becoming like his own villain for Dick Grayson Batman. For that reason, I'm going to put him at the bottom of mid, just because of my biases. I think it's not as bad as people say, and I think it's a little bit more unique. After that costume, Jason did come back later, and it was this one. I think this is actually a really good design for Red Hood. I think it's interesting where they kept the red guns and the red skull on his chest. Obviously, before the New 52, they're kind of making the red skull his logo there, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but if you're going to have a logo, it's not horrible. I really like this no eyes look for Red Hood, so I think this is a good way to do it alongside like the separation of the black and white is a lot better here with the red gloves. So for this one, I'm going to put it at the top of good. And this one was illustrated by Greg Tocchini as well as Andy Smith. So that one's like barely. No, I'm gonna put this in great. I actually really like this one. So I'm gonna put it there, and I think it's a good design for him compared to these other ones that we have on the list here. Okay, next we got the Jim Lee Hush Jason Todd reveal. Now, this was before Jason was actually brought back to life officially, so it's kind of and there's kind of debate on if this is actually Jason Todd or just Clayface. And I'm not too sure about that. If you know the answer, let me know down in the comments because I'm not exactly sure. It's kind of vague still, I think. But this was, again, illustrated by Jim Lee and Scott Williams. And I think this is a great design also. Like, I really enjoy this. I know it's kind of vaguely representing the Hush design, but with his face on it, I think it's really cool. I mean, if he had the wrapping around it like he did before he revealed it himself, it's not as cool. But for that one, I'm going to put it in the great tier just because I think, Red Hood and a trench coat can't go wrong. So I'm going to put him in the great tier for this one. I think this design looks better than the animated version just because they have more freedom for artwork and being detailed with it. And also, he doesn't have the head wrapping on it. He's got this cool mask with the white streak in his hair, which I think is pretty cool. All right, moving on. We have the Prince of Gotham Red Hood. This was debuted in 2019 and was illustrated by Coley Hamner. And this was just the cover art for that issue 33 of Red Hood Outlaw. And I don't think it actually ever appeared within the comic itself because he was wearing his other outlaw suit that we're going to get to in just a second. But honestly, this design is, I think, like super awesome. I really love how he just has the red button up with the gray vest and the black suit jacket. I think it looks really cool just with him and the mask on his face and covering his mouth with his hair exposed. I think it's like a really cool look for Jason. So honestly, I think this one, I wish it did debut in the comic itself as like him being like kind of a boss of the underworld. I think that would have been really cool. But I'm gonna put this one in the awesome tier because I really, really do enjoy this one. I think it's like a great look for him, alternative. If he were to become like the mob kingpin in Gotham, I think this would be an awesome design for him. Next, we got the Future State Red Hood. So this was illustrated by Giannis Giannis, I believe is how you say the last name. But this design is really cool. It's obviously taking like a futuristic aspect to Red Hood and his kind of outlaw design at the time and gives him this futuristic mask. But honestly, I really like what they did here with this design, and I think it fits the futuristic setting in a positive way. But there's something a little bit off about it. It might be a little bit too busy, in my opinion. Like just on the mask and the jacket are a little bit over designed in my opinion, but I still think it's a really good costume. So right now I'm gonna put it at the top of good tier here. But there is another version of this suit that was, I think, just for artist purposes. They designed it and kind of released it on its own. I don't think this suit ever debuted in the comics, but it's a reimagining done by B. Mike Bowden. So for this one, I think it's not as good, but I still think it's still a good suit, but just not on the same level as the other one. So I'm gonna put it into the bottom of good tier right now. Yeah, I just think that it has too much armor plating and the mask is kind of confusing to follow alongside like the hood. Just not as sleek as the other one, but still like good enough to be not necessarily mid, just at the bottom of good. So next we got Jason Todd as Green Lantern. So this one was designed by Fernando Blanco, and I think this is a really neat design. Not too sure on why they decided to make Jason Todd like a Green Lantern for this Dark Crisis event, but I think it works. The only issue that I really have is that they keep the red on his jacket there, where most Green Lanterns just have their suit all in either black, white, or green. Kind of throws it off for me. And also, I just don't think Jason would necessarily be a Green Lantern. It's kind of odd to see. I think he fits better in a different Lantern Corps that we might get to in just a second. So for this one, I'm going to put it in the mid tier. Just because I think it's a good design, but not exactly what I'm looking for from Jason Todd in particular. Okay, next is a fun one. We got Jason as Nightwing. So this one appeared like right after his debut. He went to New York to kind of mess with Dick Grayson as Nightwing and posed as him during his time in New York. But this was designed by Paco Diaz Luque, BIT, and Nathan Massengill. But I think, it's literally just the Nightwing suit at the time, which I think, like I said before, is the best Nightwing suit, but with Jason in it. And you can see right here that this time Nightwing had longer hair versus Jason with the shorter hair. That's like literally the only difference between their outfits. But again, he was killing people in the Nightwing costume, which was pretty bad. And also not what Jason should be wearing, in my opinion. So I'm going to put it in the bad tier. It like looks good on him, and you could definitely mistake him for Dick Grayson, especially in those comics if they didn't have the hair difference. So next we got Jason as Red Robin again. So this was his comic debut, which was before the movie. Obviously, it was illustrated by Pete Woods, Tom Derryneck, and Wayne Foucher. So this was in a different comic run where I think he went to an alternate universe and dressed up as Red Robin. Again, it's not who I think Jason should be or what he looks like. I think this one is a little bit better because it has the Robin symbol on his chest there at the crossroads, where the other one, if you look at it, it has just the R. So I think this one is more fitting of the Red Robin design. But again, they're both bad for Red Hood in my opinion. So I'm going to put this one at the just a little bit above the other one in bad. Okay, now we're getting to some of the main costumes for Red Hood. So this one, it is the infamous Red Hood with the mouth and nose, which I don't think a single person likes this design for him. And I don't know why they decided to make this his look in the New 52. So this debuted in 2011 with Red Hood and the Outlaws. But it just looks really odd and doesn't work. Like, I guess they tried to give him the Batman Beyond treatment here, but in my opinion, this is one of his worst designs solely because of that helmet makes it go into trash tier, is my opinion. So I'm going to put it at the bottom of the trash right now. Never bring back that with his mouth exposed, and we'll be good. And to bring further attention to that, after they made this atrocious design, they kind of fixed it with this one. So this one is pretty awesome, in my opinion. This is a great design for him. Again, he has the Batman symbol on his chest because at this point he is affiliated and respected by Batman in a certain way. For me, I'm not the biggest fan of Red Hood being in the Bat family and welcome in, just for all the things he's done and what it like means for the story and progressing his character. But this design overall, I really enjoy, and I think it's literally just the New 52 suit, but with the helmet from Batman Under the Red Hood animated movie. So for that reason, I think the helmet makes that big of a difference where I'm going to put this one in awesome. Now there's a better version of this coming up. And also, it's pretty confusing with these two from the New 52 because sometimes they'll draw him with the mouth in the comic book itself, but sometimes they won't. So it kind of like switches back and forth from like being trash to being awesome within like the actual comic book pages. But that's just how big of a difference like the mask makes, I think. And to be honest, Red Hood doesn't have a whole bunch of horrible designs, so you got to put something in trash, and these ones at the bottom just are, in my opinion. All right, so this is the Red Hood Outlaw suit. And this one I think is a pretty good design. It's not what I wanted at the time when I saw it first get released, but it has grown on me a little bit. The mask part, like covering up his mouth and his eyes, are pretty cool with the white streak. Of course, he's got like the hoodie there, so I can't give him too much points. I'd rather just have a full mask. Like if they took the hoodie off and just give him a mask instead, I could see this design being better. But right now, all I'm seeing is that this one is just in the good tier. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. Even with the hood down, I like it. But I think it's just going to be in the good tier right now. Towards the top, I don't think it edges out this future state design. Just because this one's like a full mask versus this one's like half measure, a weird hoodie with no arms. But they did also make some changes to it later in the run. So at some point, he got these gauntlets on his forearms instead of just the wrapping that he had here before. Also, his first design for the Outlaw suit was designed by Pete Woods, but this other one was designed by Paolo Pantalina. I think this is pretty cool because it has these extended appendages that act as gliders for him, which I think is cool, and I think this just barely edges out the other one, even though they're pretty similar in design to the other concepts. That gauntlets, I think, make a big difference, or just enough to push them above the other one. So I'm going to sit it right next to the other one, just a little bit above it, and good tier. Okay, up next we got another exciting one. So this is Dexter Soy's Rebirth Red Hood design when he got the new crew for the Outlaws. But Dexter Soy is such an amazing artist, and I love looking at his work and very impressed by what he's done with Nightwing recently. But this design is just so good, in my opinion. It's like basically peak a great design for Red Hood. And again, I'm not the biggest fan of the bat symbol on the chest here, but if you're going to do that, this design does it the best out of every single one I've seen, in my opinion. This one also has the brown jacket, which I think is cool, and it goes down his whole torso, which I like, but he also has the forearms exposed. I think gives it a cool look to it. And again, there's no red on here except for just the helmet and the bat symbol. But if you're gonna have the bat symbol, this is the best way you can do it, in my opinion. So I really enjoy this design and the tactical look of his armor too. It's not too over the top. I'm gonna put it at the top of awesome right now. This is their best, our second best design that I've seen so far that we've gone through. Next, we got the Red Hood or Jason Todd Red Lantern. So this was in a Flash story, I believe, where he's going to different universes. But this was designed by Brett Booth and Norm Rapmund. And I think this is it's okay design, but I don't really like how the mask is handled here. I think if they stuck with like the helmet look or gave him something a little bit more extra terrestrial looking for a helmet design, but instead they went with the whole Batman cowl without the ears, kind of like the Red Robin design, which I just don't think it translates well here. And also the jacket doesn't really blend into the skin tight suit of the Red Lantern core there. I think they could have done something a little bit more interesting with it. But again, this is like just a one panel showing of this version of them, so I don't think they put much time into designing this one. The Red Lantern is like a really cool concept for Jason Todd, and like I was saying earlier, that this would be the Lantern Corps I think he would join or be a part of if he were to be a Lantern. But as a design itself, I don't think it's good, so I'm gonna put it at bad. You know, it's the top of bad, almost mid, but not quite there in my opinion. I think they could have done better with designing a Red Lantern suit for Jason here. All right, now we got this suit, this infamous suit, his most recent suit, and the one they're using going forward. The Red Hood design from the one issue canceled 2025 book where he was going to be teamed up with the Huntress, which I think itself is a really cool concept. And honestly, I could see them being together just because they don't have a problem with killing for the most part. And I think that could work together. I like his potential with Artemis as well as Ravenger. Rose Wilson, I think those would be good fits for him also, but I think Huntress would work for him too. This was Jeff Spokes, but looking at the design itself, I think it's just way too busy with all the buckles and random lines of red throughout it. And they keep the mask on his eyes, but take away the one from his mouth. And it just seems like right now they're just trying to make Red Hood Red Hoodie and not have a mask, which I think he looks the best when he has a mask and a helmet. That's like the consensus between everyone, but you can tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, but don't think anyone really was excited for this outfit when it came out, and it looks like they're going to be using this one going forward for his time with the Teen Titans, like the new version of the Teen Titans that's coming out later. But I'm not very excited for this, and if they gave him like a mask, honestly, this design would improve a lot instead of just using the hood. But again, it's like way too busy in my opinion, and way too many outlinings and buckles and random stuff for no reason. So I think this is honestly his worst costume. So I'm going to put this at the bottom of trash tier here. That's the worst design, and it's our most current design and what they're going to use going forward. So, yeah, yes. Now, moving on to a great design. In my opinion, this is the Three Jokers Jason Todd design. This one itself is pretty cool. They keep the red hood, but everything else on the costume is black. He has a black leather jacket, which I think is pretty dope. And for his mask here, they don't have a physical helmet. It's more of like a pullover skin tight mask here, but I think it works for this design. I think this is the most effective way they have used that type of form fitting mask. And again, they're not trying to go too busy with it, just a little bit red here and there. And for the most part, he doesn't have the helmet on, but I think this is a good Jason Todd design. Sometimes simple is better. That mask itself is pretty good. So if he didn't have that, it'd probably be lower, but I like him with the mask on. I think it looks really cool, and I think this is a great design, so I'm gonna put it up there. Oh, also, this was designed by Jason Fabuk. Top of great for right now. Okay, we got more stinkers now. So this is Red Hood and Arsenal. Drop Starfire at this point in time. So this was designed by Dennis Medri back in 2015. This design isn't horrible. Again, they have the mouth here, but if you see these other designs, they don't do that in the actual panels. We'll get to that one in just a second, but this one, I really just don't like this art direction with the green pants. I just don't think it works at all for Red Hood. It kind of throws it off, the color padding, and again, these designs are just a little bit flat too. I also don't like how they have the jacket here that's sleeveless. The brown jacket with the big symbol on his chest rather than like on his undershirt, the jacket open and the hood attached. It's just like no design elements here that are very appealing in my opinion. So I think this is one of his worst designs. So I'm gonna put this one in trash. Honestly, like with the mouth, it would be here in comics. It's a little different, but yeah, honestly, I think this overall design is better. It's just a mask holding it back than this one. This one is just pretty bad. Now, they did do another design during this run. At some point, they changed it to where he had gray pants instead of green. So this one is definitely better, but again, they only changed the pants, and I still don't like that he has this brown sleeveless jacket on with the red hood attached and the big bat symbol. I just think it doesn't work, and the helmet's not that fascinating, but I think this one is at the probably top of trash. So still not a good design in my opinion, and we'll get to more of that type of design. Unfortunately, we had some inspiration that a certain video game took from this design that we'll get to later. Yeah, but for right now, that one's going in the top of trash. Could be bad, but I mean, it's still pretty atrocious in my opinion. Okay, next we got the DCAU Red Hood that was retconned into existence later in 2020, 30 years after the original series came out. This one I think is a pretty cool design. If they're gonna introduce him and put him into the style of DCAU, I think they did a good job here. I think this is a great design. The build is a little wrong here. I'm not a huge fan of Red Hood being like a gigantic person and having like a huge frame necessarily. I think it's better when him and Nightwing kind of look the same, and same with all the other Robins and Batman even, but has kind of like a Dorito shape. And I think if they slimmed him down a little bit, it'd look better. But again, I really like this jacket on him, and they don't have like any bat symbol or anything because he's not affiliated with the Bat family here. They're just keeping it to the Red Hood and this simplistic design. I think it works pretty well. I mean, I think it would have been cool if he was in the OG series, but of course, he wasn't alive during the time that they were airing this. So I'm gonna put this in great right now. Okay, going forward, we're going to look at the armor that was used to help Batman bring Damian to Apocalypse to revive him when he died that one time. So this one I think is a really awesome suit in my opinion. It captures Red Hood's essence in a good way where, you know, it has a lot of red on it, but I feel like this is the best armored look we have for Red Hood. The only issue is literally just the R. If he took that off, it would be, I mean, better, but still, it's a great suit overall. And even though the helmet's not super detailed or anything, I think it works really well in this design. I like the color. I think it's just a really cool, unique armor design for Jason Todd. So I'm going to put it at the bottom of awesome, just because I think that one's a really good design. If you're looking for like an armored look. Now, I did want to throw this in here. It's just Jason with a trench coat on. I think this is pretty awesome. Of course, we saw the Hush one earlier, and these are some other ones from different times in the comics, but I think this is a really great look for him, and it just fits his aesthetic. So, Jason in a trench coat, I'm going to put it at the bottom of great. It's right next to Hush and everything. Okay, this is another armor design that I really enjoyed. This is his suit from the Task Force Z. It was illustrated by Eddie Barros and Eber Ferreira and Rodolfo Migliari. That's who the illustrators were for this design. I also did want to point out that this was originally made by Patrick Gleason and Mick Gray for that Robin inspired suit. But going back to this one, this is also like super good and its design elements. I think this is a really cool look for him. It ditches the brown and mostly focuses on the gray here. I think the helmet's sick and the spacing of the red is awesome. I'm not a huge fan of the Z, but I get that has to represent the organization he's a part of with that different squad. So I think this is a really great design and also like the second best armor design. So for that reason, I'm just gonna put it in the top of great. They don't overcomplicate it. It's like more slim, and I just like the look of the all gray. I think it looks really cool on him with the red. Uh-oh, okay, we got another banger here. This one is, of course, his first debut as the villain Red Hood back in 2005. This was illustrated by Doug Monke and Todd Wen. So they came up with this absolute fire design for the Red Hood. Literally, it's only his helmet that's red, and he's got this black leather jacket on him with the gray undersuit. And this one, we talked about this one earlier with the Under the Red Hood movie, but this is from the Under the Hood story arc in Batman. But this is a great reintroduction to Jason, and I think it's just such a cool costume for him. And there's not much over designed with it. It's just a simple leather jacket and gloves and boots. Like Jason doesn't need any more than that for his costume to be great, and also avoids the bat symbol, which I am a fan of. I'm gonna put this one. I think this is the second best costume he's got, so I'm gonna put this at top of awesome. It's just a great design and inspired every other one of these costumes. So next, we're talking about Wingman. Now, this is a character I didn't even know existed before I was making this video, but apparently Jason took on this role of Wingman in the early parts of the New 52, and it's very interesting. I think it's a alright design, obviously like a Batman type design. This was designed by Chris Bernha, But not my favorite look for Jason, and I think it's a cool enough design on itself, but I don't think it works for Jason. But just because the design elements are cool, like the visor, he is trying to be a lot like Batman, which, not the greatest. But anyways, I think this one's just in the mid tier, so I'm gonna put it over there. I think it's better than the Green Lantern one, just because of that red jacket, like I said. And yeah, so it's just in the middle of mid. All right, this is a webtoon comic. So a lot of names were associated with this version of Red Hood. It was Maria Lee, Rhett Bloom, Lan Ma, and Susie Blake all designed this one. This is a pretty simple look for Red Hood. I'm gonna say I'm not the biggest fan of him being looking like an e-boy, but I understand like that's the market for this comic. But I don't like the separation between his neck there. It's showing some skin versus the torso part. And also, I don't like how he has that undershirt that goes down to his wrist but doesn't connect to his gloves. It's just a little worse than all the other ones we've seen. And I'm not very impressed by it, but I know it's just supposed to be like a web comic, but to me, it's not that great. So I'm going to put it in the bottom mid tier right now. There's just nothing special to it, and like a lot of these suits do a lot better job, in my opinion. So I'm just going to put it there. Okay, this is another version of Red Hood and webcomics. It's a Red Hood Outlaws comic. Came out a while ago. It was designed by Nico Baskunin. So I think this is a pretty good design. Honestly, I think it's great. He doesn't have any sleeves on his jacket there, and he has the red belt buckle, which is different from a lot of his other designs. But I'm not like the huge fan of him just having no sleeves on his jacket, because what's the point of the jacket, when it just get in the way? You can't hide anything up your sleeves or anything like that. So I think this one is pretty great, but has some room to improvement. I do like how his full arm here is extended from the bicep down to his forearm with the wrapping connecting to the glove. I think that's pretty cool, and his helmet design is perfect, basically. So I'm going to put it in the great tier. The more I look at this one, I just really enjoy it for some reason. But yeah, I'm going to put it right there for right now. Towards the bottom of great tier. Okay, now we're done with the other versions of Red Hood. These are the Batman versions of Red Hood. So starting off with this one, it was designed by Keith Griffin, Jesus Size, and Jimmy Halimoti is what I found for who made this costume. But it's literally just like a basic Batman costume, but Jason Todd's the one wearing it is the only catch. So nothing much to say about it. I think it's a really good Batman costume, but if you're gonna do like a Jason Todd Batman suit, I think it deserves a little bit more to be more unique and fit his style. So for this one, I'm just gonna put it in mid. I think they can improve upon what a Batman design would look like. So I put it above Wingman, and honestly, this Yakuza design. Okay, now this one, now this suit is what you do if you want Jason to be a Batman. This is an awesome suit, in my opinion. I really enjoy what they did with this design here. It just looks great, like the mask, the ammo cases down his torso there, as well as I think the pattern on the arm is pretty cool. And it's just a very aggressive Batman suit. Like the eyes are red, and he's using guns to kill people. It's just like super cool, in my opinion. It's from the battle for the cowl story arc, but it was designed by Tony S. Daniel, Sandu Floria, and Ian Hannon. But yeah, this is, I think, his best Batman design. So I'm going to put this one in awesome tier. I think it goes, yeah, even above this really cool suit that he has. I really enjoy this design. Okay, now this is the really recent one from Batman Night Fight, and I really like this one too. I think this is a great design. One of my favorites of the Robin's turned Batman, but honestly, all the suits are pretty dope, in my opinion. And this one, it's just a little bit too bulky, in my opinion. I think it's interesting what they're doing with making the helmet have the ears on it. It's kind of fun, but again, this streams more like Red Hood Batman rather than Batman in some ways. So I think we talked about the Dick Grayson version last time, and I think that one did a better job of capitalizing Batman elements. But still, I think this is a really dope costume, and I can see if he did take over, he might wear something like this. It's pretty cool. I don't know if Jason would actually take over as Batman. Is what I'm trying to say. But moving to the tier list, I'm gonna put this one, yeah, at the top of great, near the top of great there. Okay, here we go. Now this one, gotta be honest, is not an official Red Hood Jason Todd costume, but I've seen a lot of people talk about this one online, so I didn't feel like I had to include it. But this is Dexter Soy's Red Ronin design from 2017 and onward. He's made a whole bunch of different art designs for Red Hood in this style, and I think they're all just like so good. Like this is a really awesome suit for Red Hood, and a lot of people say it's like the best suit that's not even ever been released. Now I'm gonna have one criticism mainly is that of course it got the bat symbol, which I think shouldn't be associated with them, in my opinion. And also I just don't think that this one is good for his main suit. I think this is a like kind of like a black Spider-Man suit or a blue suit, Invincible. This is like his could be like a dark era for him. I really like the white and the hood there. He also has swords, which are super dope. And I think the whole aesthetic just works really well for him. And this black, white, and red design. And I think Dexter did a good job designing this. This is like definitely a peak design for him. So I'm gonna put it at the top of awesome tier. But again, I think these designs more fit the Red Hood character, but I would like to see this one for a period of time, just not like his base design. I could see them doing a really cool storyline with him in that suit and him just going on the run and murking people. Now we're going to the video game section of the tier list. So first up, we got Arkham Jason Todd. So this one is the first one, Arkham Knight. And I think this design is, I mean, it's alright, but nothing special. I'm not a big fan of like the blue that's incorporated into it. I think the mask is cool enough, but really not a huge fan of this design, in my opinion. And I know it's pretty cool, but I think it should have been not Jason, or they should have just had him be Jason from the start because I'm not a big fan of this one in particular. So I'm just gonna put it in mid. I think it's cool enough, and I don't have any animosity if you love that suit for him. I can see it, but just for me, it's not like a Jason Todd look. Now, speaking of a great Jason look, we got this one, which was only seen like right after Jason Todd revealed that he was Jason, and like Batman like messed up his mask. His suit turned red, and he just had the under part of his mask from the Arkham Knight design on, and it turned red. And this was like so sick. I really love how good this design looks, and it's also like what he used when he came back at the end and everything. Can't tell if that's quite a bat symbol or not, but it's just like such a cool design, and I'm a big fan of the no eyes mask for Red Hood. So I think this is a really great design and not overcomplicated. It keeps the red camo here, but I think it works more because there's no blue within the suit, and they like change his torso and biceps to have the blue. So this one is up there for sure. I think it goes honestly right behind the Red Ronin. And lastly, we got one more suit to talk about, which is this one. That's the playable suit in Arkham Knight. And I think this one's pretty good, but also it just seems odd to me that you'd have a hood on over a mask and a jacket. It's just like pretty clunky in my opinion. For like a full mask and a hood versus like the Ronin is like more tattered and everything. This one's like a leather jacket. And for some reason, like the full mask and the hood up don't fully jive with me. But I do think, it's a good design up there in the great tier for sure, but doesn't hit the highs that the other one did. So I'm just going to put this one in great somewhere. Now let's see. Yeah, I can put it, honestly, yeah, I'm going to put it right here. Okay. All right, now moving on to one of my favorite designs. I'm just kidding. This is a bad design, horrible representation for the character in the game. If you ask me, such a softy in this game. Also, again, I'm just basing the basic suit here, like the default one, and there's different like colors and costumes. So I might do that for Nightwing, go over those, but I also might do that for Red Hood now because I think he has a lot of different options that are way better than this one. But this is the one that they put out on release and was in the promotion and the default starting costume, and that's his character model. That's Jason in Streetwear. He's like literally a linebacker with a fade. It just doesn't work for me. I think one of my biggest issues with this design is how stocky he is. I think Jason's supposed to be more of a limber guy, on the side of looking like Nightwing. And that's another issue I had with Nightwing in this game. It's just a little too broad, a little too big, in my opinion. And I want my superheroes to be imposing, right? But I also want them to fit the character, and they just seem a little too tall and massive. And I also don't like the trope of making the angry one just bigger than everyone. It just seems a little played out at this time. But going on the design itself, they have this mask, which isn't horrible. I've liked that on the Three Jokers design. But again, it has this stupid hoodie, brown with no arms, incorporated into like the armor. Just doesn't make any sense to me. And just not a good look for him. And this character design also like throws me off, and how they portray him. Just such a dweeb loser in this game. So yeah, I just gotta have to put him in trash. I'm gonna be nice, put it at the top of trash, but still like not a good design at all for him. And I think it's better than this other one and that they had, and like these other two designs that are basically like similar to this one, just because I think the straps on his legs are a little cooler and has good elements. Just the way he's portrayed in this game is affecting this for sure, as well as like how big he is, and I just don't like that style for him. And also, there's a lot better suits. Next, we got the DC Dark Legion Red Hood. This one is actually pretty cool. I really like this design for him. It's kind of like a futuristic style, more armored look. They are doing some interesting things with the helmet there. I do want to point out that they do kind of have red wraps here and not there. But either way, I think it's a pretty cool design. And honestly, I don't have any problems with the helmet, the gun design for him. And yeah, they're keeping the red pretty spaced out in a good way. The only like real issue is how short the jacket is. I think that's a problem. But other than that, I like the belt and the leg pouches. I think those are cool. And that helmet is just really sick. So I'm gonna put this one in the great tier. Towards the top of the great tier, but yeah, not peak necessarily. There's something missing a little bit. Okay, now this one, I'm just gonna say, like right now, this one has everything I really want from a Red Hood design. It's got the brown jacket, just the basic tactical look. This is Injustice 2 Red Hood. He's a DLC for this game, and he doesn't have the bat symbol here. Of course, this is just his default design that they gave us at the beginning, but I really enjoyed this design. We'll get to that in a second. But I really enjoyed this design, mainly just because of how simple it is. And I think they really got the mask right. Like, this is a new type of look for him with his helmet based design. But I think it works pretty well with like the smaller eyes, and can't really see the white parts in him. Plus, like the jacket with the collar. I just think it's a really simple design, but simple works best when you talk about Red Hood, in my opinion. So I'm going to put this one. Yeah, I'm gonna put this one above the Ronin. Actually, I think they did like such a great design, great job designing this, and all of his customization is pretty dope in this game also. So you have a lot of outfits to choose for to make him look even cooler. Yeah. But I did also want to mention the Injustice 2 Mobile Red Hood, which is a different design. If you look at them back to back here, this one has more like bluish pants and a more armored undershirt with a smaller collar. And for that reason, also, it's just, it's limited by mobile technology. My opinion, it's like a decent bit worse than this other one that you can get on like consoles. So I'm gonna put this one still in great, but yeah, towards the bottom, definitely doesn't hit the highs just from all that detail. I think it's missing out on a lot of elements that are in the other design. Moving on, we got Lego Red Hood. So this one first appeared in Lego Batman 3. And this is a pretty awesome design. I really like this one for Red Hood. Now, one thing I'm going to let you know is that they have this like, normal headpiece as the helmet. But for me, I think the perfect Lego figure would be if they actually gave him a helmet on top of this stud at the top, instead of making it the helmet like the head, if you know what I'm saying. But this one is basically perfect for what a Lego. I mean, maybe they could add boots or whatever, but I mean, it's super simple design, and it goes off the one from the animated movie, basically. So I'm gonna put this one in great. I think it's a great design, but that one nitpick of having him have like an actual helmet versus just a headpiece, I think would go a long way. So yeah, I think this one captures the character very well for a Lego. Next, we got the other version of him that showed up in Lego Supervillains. So this one has the bat symbol, I guess you could call it. You know, kind of big fat bat symbol there. And yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this one. I think they designed his helmet a little differently too, and not in a good way. But for this one, you know, it's good. Like it's right next to that one in the Family Matters television show or movie because it's basically the same outfit. It is the same outfit. So I'm gonna put it right next to that one. It's good, but yeah, this one is a lot better in my opinion. Just because it doesn't have that symbol and the jacket looks cooler, and same with the mask. So going forward, we got the DC Legends Red Hood. So this one is the default design, and I guess you can upgrade him later on, and this is the second design they give him. So let's talk about this one first. This one I think is pretty great. Honestly, represents the character well. I think his eyes are a little small there, but I really like the tactical look on like the armor underneath with the brown jacket. I think it looks really cool. And keeping it simple for the most part, the helmet looks all right. It's just kind of blank, but I think it's still great. Like more bottom of great tier. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna put it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, sure. But going to the second design, we have this one where they just add a whole bunch of random stuff, in my opinion. They just clutter up his body, give him a hood on top of his helmet, which, you know, doesn't make that much sense. Like I was saying before, not the biggest fan of the red boots. I do think the red energy highlights are cool, but again, there's just too much going on compared to the simplicity of this one. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in a lower tier, but I still think it's a good design. So that's where I'm going to put it. All right, last for the games is the Scribblenauts Red Hood, which I think, you know, he's pretty adorable. I think this one's pretty cute for the Scribblenauts design. There's just something about like the jacket and his big head that's pretty funny to me. So honestly, I think it's a pretty good design. Also, Scribblenauts is like super basic in its character design because it's such a small character. But for me, this is I think a really good design. I think it's pretty good, but it doesn't compare to the other ones in my opinion. So I'm gonna put this one in a good, top of good, middle of good there. Yeah, but moving on to our last suit here. It's from the Titans show. And I'm just going to say this guy is too short to be Jason. Throwing no shade or anything, but my opinion, he's got to be a little taller, be more imposing. Also, he's doing the whole big mask with the hood over it. And I'm going to go through some other versions of him here just a second. But this one myself with the full complete costume, I think it has good elements, but the hood with the mask like just doesn't work as well as I'm just not being that threatening. So for this one, the hood up, I'm gonna put it in bad, honestly. Not good. I think they could have done better with making his design more sleek, which I guess they kind of did with this next design. And this also him with the hoodie on, but the hood off. And still, like the jacket looks, you know, too small. It doesn't fit when he has all this armor on, and I think it just looks kind of clunky put together here. But once he takes the whole jacket off, like this is a really cool design in my opinion. I like this one a lot. And the mask looks a little odd here, but I think the tactical look with just his under body armor there with the red like lining through it, I think that's like actually pretty dope. So yeah, I'm gonna put it towards the top of good, in my opinion. Again, like the suit becomes like way better once you take that jacket off. All right, so this is my definitive ranking of Jason Todd Red Hood. Again, this is the best of all time here. Favorite, I don't think you can do better than this one. It's from the Under the Red Hood movie in 2010, and I think it just captures the character really well and it's a great introduction to him. So it's my favorite design for him. And I guess top five would be the Under the Hood debut of Jason Todd again in the comics, Rebirth. It's a great design, really awesome. I think they nailed it for this Injustice 2 design, and Dexter Soy cooked with this Red Ronin design. Like, he's definitely like one of the greatest for art. Like, such a cool artist. But yeah, these are all awesome here. These are great, great designs. These are all good. Could use some improvement. And these ones are mid, they're not necessarily bad, but they're just pretty boring and not the best for him. These are bad. Don't want to see Jason in these. And a lot of these are just alternate looks for him in different versions. So they don't do a horrible job with the comics. But then we get down to here, which are all pretty bad. This one's the worst. And it's the newest one, so we got to deal with it for some time until they decide that it's bad. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of my tier list, or if I missed any suits, or didn't give the credit to an artist. I was trying to be really good about that throughout the video. I appreciate whoever stayed for this long to hear my thoughts. Let me know if you disagree and what your like top five or favorite design is. Your like one favorite design for Red Hood. I think he has a lot of cool designs. As you can see, there's more good than bad here, where it's kind of more even with Nightwing, I think. But it's kind of hard to mess up Red Hood's design, and they just got to give him a cool helmet, a jacket, and a tactical look. That is pretty simple. So I think a lot of these designs nail that. But yeah, if you guys have any videos you want me to do in the future for tier lists, please let me know. I appreciate you all for watching, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. All right, take care.